Welcome back to One True Podcast. With me, as always, is Zach Smith. Zachary, how are you doing on this Wednesday? It is Wednesday, right?
Wednesday, it's October. It's still 90 degrees out, which still coming from Michigan, I'm still not like in full support of. I kind of want that apple cider changing the leaves, but whatever. Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm happy to talk about football. At least we have football to watch.
That's right. And with us is Tim Everson of the Manhattan Mercury, covers the K-State-Wildcats. Tim, welcome, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. How long have you been there at Manhattan now?
It's been I interned there in college and then went away, did a couple of smaller uh papers covering high school stuff, and then I've been back at the Mercury since 2021. And then I've been in my role since 2022.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, let's talk some football, guys. So, if I were naming this game between K-State and Baylor on Saturday, I would call it the Unfulfilled Expectations Bowl, sponsored by Tinder. Swipe left. These teams are not as pretty as they should be. Yeah, I mean, neither team is in the place I think it wanted to be here as we go into the first weekend of October. So where do you guys think this game will be won, and who wins it?
Tim, kick us off.
Yeah, you want me to start? Okay. It's tough to say for sure because you're absolutely right. These are two teams that are trying to, re-find themselves, I guess, after hoping that they would be competing for a Big 12 title and a playoff spot this season. I would say that things at least seem to be moving in a positive direction now for K-State after their win last week against UCF. They had the bye week before that. Maybe they figured out some stuff that will help them long term and maybe help them look like the team that they were supposed to. Uh, it's probably too early to tell as of right now.
Hmm.
Um, if I had to lean one way or the other, just because it's, going out on the road, and despite the fact that they had to go to Dublin earlier and they've been to Arizona, they're not super road tested yet, and so probably the edge goes to Baylor. But I wouldn't be surprised one way or the other what happens on Saturday.
Zach, I already know your pick, so tell the listeners who you're going with.
I'm pretty confident that K-State's going to win this game.
Wow.
I think that this game is going to be won or lost for either team with the run game. Just because I look at what K-State did last week against UCF. They get Dylan Edwards back. They get Avery Johnson kind of running the ball like I think he's more built to do than pass the ball. And that was that was successful for him. And then you flip that, and I still think that K-State has some issues. Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, stopping the run. I think they've given up 200 yards in the last 3 games, I want to say. And you've got a Baylor team coming off their best rushing performance against a FBS school, against Oklahoma State. And so I think you have kind of 2 maybe potential, like 2 run games that are building. 2 run games that have some momentum against a pair of defenses that haven't been able to stop a bloody nose on the ground all year. Mm-hmm. So, like, that to me is where it's going to happen. And I think that just what the physicality that K-State is known for and kind of is just part of the identity of that program is something that Baylor doesn't have on the defensive side. So I think that K-State's running game is just going to tear through Baylor. And I'm not so sure. I'm not as confident that Baylor's running game can do the same to K-State. And so that's why I'm pretty confident in picking the Wildcats.
Give me the Bears at home. I'm with Tim. K-State hasn't won a road game yet. I mean, obviously, as he noted, one of those was in a different country. I guess that was actually a home game for K-State, but home game. They haven't won a game outside of Manhattan. Yeah, they don't look like world beaters to me. I think Baylor's offense is certainly clicking at a pretty high level. And Baylor's last home game, the defense was pretty exceptional, actually. So it's just, I think it's probably true with both of these teams. Which one's going to show up? I mean, that's like, what Baylor team are we going to get? What K-State team are we going to get? But I think that there's still the potential for a run for this Baylor team. And that kind of leads me to my next question. So obviously there's a lot of football still to be played, that old cliche, but it's true. Still time for either one of these guys to put together a run. So I want to pose this question to you guys because you follow these teams closely. So Tim, what's the biggest issue for K-State that they need to fix if they are going to kind of put a winning streak together? And then Zach, you take the same question with Baylor.
Yeah, I think that leading into the UCF game, I would say that the biggest thing that's just been an absolute disappointment is just in the trenches, especially on the offensive line. They ran the ball really well against UCF, and so maybe they found a couple answers there. They worked in a couple of guys that weren't playing earlier in the season, and so assuming that that's been fixed, which we'll see. I will go with stopping the big play. UCF couldn't really couldn't really put together a lot of, long sustained drives, but I think most of their scoring drives, they had like 5 total plays of 40 yards or more, including an 85-yard passing touchdown, 50-plus yard rush, I think 2 other 40-plus yard runs. And that's just, that's just not sustainable. And especially, this Saturday, a team that has been as explosive as Baylor has been, that's going to be a problem if you don't find a way to put a cap in that. And also, there's 3 or 4 other Big 12 teams who will, feast off of that if you give them the opportunity. So I will say that is kind of the biggest thing so far that needs to be addressed.
Zach?
For me, I hate to keep beating a dead horse here, but it's the Baylor defense has just been awful all year. And
we thought they would be a lot better.
Even a little bit better. Right?
A little bit better.
I don't think we were asking them to be one of the best in the country, but at least top half of the Big 12. And there's been, almost no statistics, maybe defending the pass. I think the secondary has been much better, but tackling has been absolutely horrible. And despite what Chris-Klieman wants to say at his press conference, I think that Baylor has some of the worst tackling in the conference, and it's just a bad look for Dave-Aranda, who is a defensive guru, and has all this. Everybody talks about how great a defensive mind he is, and that might be the case, but nothing over the last year and almost a half now of him calling plays has, shown us that that's still in there. And, going against a team like Kansas State, like I mentioned before, that can run the ball, I don't know when that's gonna get better, and all that to be said, I still kind of give him a pass, at least for now, because I remember thinking back to last year. He said so often that, we know it's in here. We know that there's a good team in here and it's just gotta come out. And then after the bye week, it did come out. And so maybe that second half against Oklahoma State, which they held him to 99 yards and kind of sat on him and did some good stuff. Maybe that was a turning point, but we haven't seen it. And for Baylor to get to where they want to go, the defense needs to be better, and their tackling and rush defense, it's got to take a step.
Do I have a red pen here? Because I'm about to pick some holes in your thesis. I agree with your overall thesis of Baylor, but you say we haven't seen it. No, we have seen it. We just haven't seen it in extended times.
That's fair.
The second half against Oklahoma State, the whole game against Arizona State, like flashes against SMU. So there have been moments. I mean, Baylor's defense kept them in the game against Arizona State. I mean, if there's a game they need to bottle, it's that one. So yeah, I mean, but they should be a lot further along. They should be a lot better than they are. And the tackling, you're completely right about. Like, it has not been great.
If they tackle a little bit better in that Auburn game, which was by far their worst tackling game of the season, I think they win that game. And I think the Arizona State game, like you mentioned, it's a great point that the defense played well for 3.5 quarters in that. And it was the offense that let them down. But that's the offense letting them down is few and far between, and far more often it's been the defense letting them down. And so it's just not, I don't know when the next opportunity, when the next legit opportunity is for them to put 4 quarters together, like have that, like a realistic shot of that. It would have been Oklahoma State, you'd think, but that didn't go as planned. Yeah,
well, we'll see what happens Saturday. Quick story time, because I think we have time for this. Zach, I promised you a story about a coach that clearly didn't know his opposing team. So when you mentioned the Klieman thing, and he was praising Baylor's tackling and its defense, and you're like, huh? Like, what film are you watching, Coach? 2021? So I've been around a while, guys, and years ago, Baylor had this guy named Odell Beckham, and he was like this hotshot quarterback prospect. This was a time when Baylor football was not very good at all. Like, Zach, trust me, you're in the glory years compared to these years. So he was at Baylor 5 or 6 years in a time when college players didn't stick around for 5 or 6 years, and they eventually moved him to defense. And he was playing safety or something. And Baylor played Colorado. Gary Barnett was the coach, and I had the opposing locker room. Back then, you could go in the locker room and do interviews. Again, I'm old. Yeah. And I'll never forget interviewing Gary Barnett in the Colorado locker room, and him saying, man, and at the time, Odell was, like I said, a 5th or 6th year senior that had been at Baylor forever, and had this really wild journey. And Barnett says, yeah, that number 5, he's got a real future ahead of him, Holy crap, you don't know anything. Like, this guy's been here forever. He's on his last legs. So it's funny. I'm not trying to make fun of the coaches, even though I'm making fun of the coaches, but they have this very like tunnel vision of their own team, and what they know about the other team is what probably their other assistant coaches give them to know, so yeah. Anyway,
I don't know. How much of that is just Klieman being like, "Yeah, no, they suck," but I'm not going to say that in a press conference.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, I'm friends with Dave. I'll say nice things. I don't care.
But to say they're extraordinary at tackling, I just think is just a inaccurate statement.
It's pretty inaccurate. Yes, that's beyond the line of nice.
No matter what stats you cherry pick, I just think it's just wrong. And maybe I don't know ball, But like,
no. But I get Tim's point. Sometimes, your mama taught you to, if you can't
true.
say anything nice. So, we referenced it earlier, but K-State, of course, opened the season in Dublin, Ireland, against Iowa State. Today, I guess that came out today. It looked like it was today. We got the announcement that Arizona State and Kansas will play in London in 2026 in the Union Jack Classic. So, just from a Big 12 perspective, how much of an impact do you think these games have in making college football more global?
I mean, I think it has a big impact. I think that I think that the more you do it, I mean, I think we've seen it with the NFL. It started pretty small, and now it seems like they have what, 6, 7 international games a year now. The
Mm.
Minnesota Vikings are just setting up shop in Europe and playing 2 weeks in a row and in Dublin and then in London. So I think that for the sport itself, I think it's good. I think that there's an argument to be made. Maybe it's just because I covered a team that maybe just now seems like they're fully rid of whatever plagued them.
Mm.
I don't know if I would want my team to be doing that again. And especially, am I correct in thinking that this is going to be like a week 4 game? Like this isn't
Uh,
like a start of the season
I don't know. That's a
I
great
don't know.
question.
I
situation.
don't
I
know
thought
about
that I'd
that.
heard that.
I didn't read that far into
Yeah,
it.
I don't know.
Wow, if that's the case, like you said, wow,
It just seems
like a lot.
yeah, it just seems like a lot, and it seems I don't know. I mean, for programs that are so much built on routine and these are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that you got, that's just a lot to put on them as much as they may be professionals now in the sense that they're getting paid. Is that the best for them necessarily? I don't know. It's a great opportunity.
Mm,
I think maybe if you were talking to an Iowa State person, you might be getting a completely different reaction.
mm,
But I don't know. I found it interesting. I, I think it's cool that they're doing it, but I don't know if I was a KU fan or an Arizona State fan if I would be maybe as excited. I think that there's Scott Frost, apropos of nothing, mentioned at his post game press conference on Saturday that he's played in one of these. Nebraska was over there, and they also had a rough time after they played there. So if the money is good. It does help the sport, I think, but I don't know if it is 100% all
mm.
great.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's fair, completely fair. Zach?
I feel, going to, I just got back from Stillwater. I remember I had so much fun in Morgantown and Ames and Manhattan.
Mhm.
And these are towns that I think are built around, in a way, built around their college. And so much of what we love about college football is the
Mm,
community,
mm,
the atmosphere, the spectacle, the tailgating, the marching bands, like all the traditions that make college football great. I think you lose some of that when you go to Ireland or England or Germany. I think Michigan's going next year. And it's kind of sad for the fans and the players, and just like losing some of the shine that makes college football so great and so unique. That's what is the most upsetting to me when I see this. Now, from a neutral fan perspective that has no ties to Arizona State or Kansas or Iowa State or Kansas State, I love it personally. So I'm kind of contradicting myself there because, it's a unique chance to go check out a different country and see some different stuff. And obviously, it does good things for the Big 12 brand, which I know is a big thing for Brett Yormark.
mm-hmm.
Um, and especially with the way college football is going, TV networks are kind of running the show nowadays, and they're going to keep doing that. So I don't think this is going to change. But I feel so bad for fans. Like, Tim, I don't know if you talked to any Kansas State fans. Like, were they happy to, yes, it's a home game, but it wasn't,
Yeah,
did they like this?
a lot did, and a lot traveled over there. Like they made it a lot of them treated it like a bowl
Mm,
trip,
Mm-hmm.
and like you found out early enough. Uh, this is kind of weird only because like they announced the that K-State was going to Dublin before last season. It was like
mm,
the summer before the 2024 season. And so that really gave K-State fans a lot of lead up time to, plan, get their money in order to get the travel all taken care of, get signed up for, a vacation package through the Alumni Association, all that stuff. This is it's a little shorter of
Mm.
a window. It's maybe
mhm.
not that much, but I mean a little bit. And so
Yeah.
that's interesting. But the ones that went, had nothing, even with the loss, had nothing but great things to say. It was a great experience, and a lot of them had never been out of the country before, and it's a cool way to be able to do that. And obviously, Dublin really plays it up big, and all the bars and everything. Put K-State and Iowa State stuff outside, so it's a cool experience for them. But I think anyone that wasn't there, which is a lot, a lot of
Mm-hmm. A
maybe
lot of normal people.
maybe I don't know, maybe 10, 15,000 K-State fans, something like that, made the trip over there or whatever. And 52,000 fill Bill Snyder Family Stadium on a Saturday. I mean, you lose that game and then everyone's just like, well, now we didn't get a home game. We didn't get a home game against one of our rivals. And we also don't get to go to the Cliffs of Moher or to kiss the
Right.
Blarney Stone or whatever. So we really got nothing out of this, but I'm glad you guys are enjoying yourselves.
Right.
So it depends on, I think, if you got to go. If you got to go, it was well worth it. Great time. If you were stuck at home like I was, it was kind of like, well, that's fine. I
FOMO.
guess
They
I'm
call
glad
that
you guys
Yeah.
had fun.
FOMO.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
uh yeah, I think you guys both made excellent points, so I don't really have anything else to add. Let's move on. So I'm not sure that we would have thought that both Texas Tech and Houston would be undefeated on the first Saturday of October, but here we are. The Red Raiders big money offseason experiment seems to be paying off. But Houston has done it a little more quietly. Still have some transfers that are helping them out, but probably not getting paid as much as they are out in Lubbock. So the Red Raiders are a 10.5 point favorite for this one. But can you guys envision a scenario where the Cougars play spoiler? What do you think?
I can. I mean, I think so much of Willie Fritz as a coach.
Amen,
I
brother.
think that
Now
he,
you're preaching to me.
yeah, I think he's ahead of schedule. The fact that K-State lost to them last year, inexplicably in a game in the rain in Houston, and the fact that they got to where they were last year with that roster is incredible, and they've added more talent. Now, I mean, am I going to be, we can sports bet up here in Kansas. Well, am I going to be putting money on that to happen? I don't know. I think that Texas Tech in the trenches is, uh, it's going to be tough for a lot of Big 12 teams to kind of match up with the money that they've spent
Mm.
to kind of get that part up to a national standard. But 10.5, I don't know. I mean, the other
Safer
thing,
bet might be Houston to cover, but
sure, sure.
but
mhm.
but I'm with you. Yeah, Zach, what do you think?
I couldn't disagree more. I think Texas Tech is going to roll. I think
Mm.
it's just going to be like you said, the big money experiment is paying off. That was, I think, my biggest question, non-Baylor question coming into this year is how is that going to look? And it looks pretty dang good. And I think winning like they did in Utah with a backup quarterback, I think their offense is statistically the only one in the Big 12 better than Baylor. And, as I went and did a bunch of the defensive stats to, tell Klieman that he was full of it, one of the best defenses is Texas Tech. And I think that only bodes well for the Red Raiders. And I just think, I think Tim said it. Houston is ahead of schedule. And I love Willie Fritz. I love what he has done and will continue to do, but I think they're a year or two early. And so I'm going to take the Red Raiders pretty competently to cover and win this game and probably go to Arlington too.
Those are all fair, logical points. But it's college football, man. Crazy stuff happens every week.
That's happened.
I love the chaos. You know that, Bryce.
Yes, we all love chaos. Yeah. So Zach already knows, but I'm a big Willie Fritz fan. I covered him back in the day when he was at Blinn College. But
okay. With Michael Bishop, did you cover Michael Bishop?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael Bishop was still to this day probably the single greatest walk-in highlight that I ever covered. Like, I have like visions in my head from like Michael Bishop throws in the mid '90s at Blinn College. I mean, it was just, he was incredible. And I always thought he would make it in the NFL. But he was kind of the designated Hail Mary guy for the Patriots back when they had like Drew Bledsoe. Michael Bishop would come in at the end.
Ahead of his time. He was ahead of his time.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, do I think Houston will win? I mean, I would probably pick Texas Tech, but I do love what Willie's doing. I know Zach's a big Kenny Dillingham guy. I feel that way about Willie Fritz. Like, you posted something the other day, Zach, where you said, man, all this guy does is win. Same is true for Willie Fritz. Like, every place he's been, that's what he does is win. And it is kind of remarkable. I feel like they're certainly ahead of schedule. I mean, Tim mentioned that they were probably better than a lot of us thought they would be last year in Houston. And I mean, I didn't necessarily expect them to be 4-0 right now, so give the Cougars some credit, and they've got a pretty good quarterback too, who came over from A&M, Connor Wegman, right? Yeah. So obviously, should be an interesting game to say nothing, but we'll see if it's a blowout like Zach says. It might be, but I don't know.
A lot of Tech fans are making the trip. There's been a lot of social media about them filling up Houston's stadium. They haven't quite got the home support thing figured out yet at Houston. That has to.
Houston's an interesting fan base. For many, many years, it always had the reputation of being a commuter school, and maybe not quite the passionate fan base of a Lubbock or an Austin or a College Station or maybe even a Waco. But I don't know. So that'll be, I don't know that Houston fans will be outnumbered by Tech, but I suspect the Red Raiders will be there in force. So guys, I mean, thanks for Tim. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
Who does K-State have after this week?
After this is TCU and then another bye week. So it's a tough 2 weeks here. I think if you're a K-State fan, if you can go 1-1, you're feeling pretty good. Obviously, if you go 2-0, you're fully on the we're back train, especially considering that loss to Arizona was a non-conference situation. So your only conference loss would be to Iowa State at that point. But just to kind of get the thing back on the tracks going into the last half of the season or whatever. If you can win one of these next two, you're feeling okay, if not completely back to where you'd be.
I think Baylor has the exact reverse: bye week, then TCU. So,
okay.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. Well, guys, appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. That was fun.